it's Melissa. In this video, I am going to take you start to finish on how to design these cute little shaker ornaments. So you can make these in any shape, but I use what I would consider to be one of the most underrated design softwares, certainly at the price that you can use, and that is Silhouette Studio. So the entire thing here was designed in Silhouette Studio. All 4 layers, and this is 4 layers. Actually, it's 5 layers because you've got this piece on top, and then you've got acrylic. You've even got a little, in this one, I even did a little like etched shadow, glare on there. Then you've got, you have to have some extra pieces so that the shaker little charms can shake around. And then even the design, even the little charms themselves, I have here Christmas trees and snowflakes, and we're gonna have gingerbread men and stars. All of that stuff was designed in Silhouette Studio. So I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. I have other tutorials if you're wondering, how to cut clear acrylic, which you need for this. If you're wondering how I did this, which is hardboard that was sublimated, and how I made it so it doesn't have any like soot on the edge from the laser cut. If you're wondering how, all of that stuff, I have different videos on those, but in this case specifically, we are going to talk about how to design shaker Christmas ornaments in Silhouette Studio. Let's go. Okay, so I like to do everything, all my designing in Silhouette Studio, because it really gives a lot more flexibility when I export and pull into xTool's Creative Space. Again, if you have a different type of laser, the same thing applies. You can still use Silhouette Studio. This is also a one-time fee, and for $50, it's almost always on sale. You can get the business edition, which is what you're going to want because you need to export these files. So all the links for that will be in the description below for where to get it for the best price. Okay, so I'm going to assume here that you have no idea how to use Silhouette Studio, so we're just going to go over the basics here. We are starting in the design area, and you don't need a Silhouette cutting machine to use Silhouette Studio, so that's the great thing. So you're going to open up the page setup panel up here at the top, and I'm going to, you don't have to do this, but we'll just click it to say none because we don't have a machine. We're also not using a cutting mat. And the media size I'm going to keep at 12 inches. Okay, so that 12 by 12. So we have a nice white work area here. Now, on the left side over here, yours might not be a circle because it defaults to whatever shape you used last, but it'll probably have a square there. So pick the Draw an Ellipse tool and then hold down Shift, and that is going to draw you a perfect circle while you're using your mouse if you hold down Shift, okay? So we're going to use a snow globe shape, but I'm gonna show you how to get some other shapes too. And this is really going to be the base of our shaker ornament. So we're starting with a circle, and then the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a rounded rectangle. So this time I'm not holding down Shift, I'm just doing a rounded rectangle. Now, I'm actually gonna do 2 rounded rectangles. So I will just copy, and you can use your keyboard shortcuts as well. So I am going to make this a little bit bigger. Now, I will tell you, this to me is very, very difficult to tell what's happening. So what I like to do is I like to fill these with something close to what I'm actually going to be cutting on. The material, whether that's vinyl if I'm cutting on my cutting machine, or if a laser, you can actually fill these with what looks like a wood grain as well. Before I do that though, I need to make a frame here. So I'm actually going to select this circle. Because I need it to be a frame, I have to put what's called an offset around it so that the inside cuts out. And so I'm going to open the offset panel, which is this little star here, and I'm going to click offset. Okay, so now I have basically this middle part will cut out, and I'll be left with this frame. So if you want your frame to be a little bit thinner, you can adjust the distance of the offset, and that will pull that in. Okay. Next thing that we have to do, right now, this is essentially 2 circles sitting on top of each other. Not like, think of it like a stack of pancakes. We want to make it like a donut. So in order to do a donut, we need to select both, right click, and click Make Compound Path. Now, I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to fill them. Now, you could go to the Fill tool and simply fill them with black if you wanted, and you would get an idea of what it will look like. So to me, I need to pull the snow globe part down a little bit. Maybe I want to make, this one a little bit shorter and wider, whatever. You can make your changes here. And But what you can see is having this filled in is probably easier for you to see what's actually going to be happening. But you can even go one step further. So if you select it again, and from the fill panel, instead of just using the solid color shapes, you go to this one right here, that's patterns. And one of the default patterns, which there's a bunch of default patterns that are available, is a wood grain. And so I actually like to change mine to wood so that I can see what's going on, because I'm actually gonna cut mine on wood. Maybe I'm gonna cut it on pine, maybe I'm gonna cut it on, you know, something, a darker walnut or something. So you can make those changes. Now, right now, this is just individual shapes. So if we want to weld this together so that it's one solid shape, we can do that in Silhouette Studio by selecting everything. Again, you're gonna right click and click weld. Now I will tell you, this right click menu, the same options are up here. So this tool here is also weld. So what that's gonna do is now this is one solid shape. So you can go to the send panel and you'll see the red cut line there, that's the cut line. But now it's not, we can no longer get those individual rectangles apart. Okay, so this is the shape that we are going to use, the basic shape. So for shaker ornaments, you need 4 layers. 4 layers, all of the same shape. So I'm gonna duplicate this. Now I can do it by copy paste like I showed you, or you can select it and then there's a duplicate panel over here, replicate panel, that's going to ask you how many more do you want. So I want 4 more. So I click this one right here. Now, one is going to be the very top piece of wood. The next one that you have is going to be a solid piece of acrylic. And so I'm actually going to fill that one with like just like a light blue so it's easier to see. But what I don't want is this middle circle part to be cut out. So I actually want to remove this inner circle. So I'm going to right click this and I'm going to click release compound path. And what that does is it allows me to pull this away and I can delete that. So now, and I'll send it to back so you can see, what'll happen is it's going to, when they are layered together, it'll look like that. Okay, so those are the top 2 layers. Then we need a piece that is much like the top piece, but this is going to basically be the spacer so that the pieces, the shaker charms that we have in there have room to shake. Okay, it creates space between this layer of acrylic and the back layer. Now, this back layer is also going to either be acrylic, or I actually have also made it sublimation hardboard, but regardless of how you make it, this one needs to be the same shape as this. So you can copy this and duplicate it, or you could do the same thing where we release the compound path. So now I'm going to send this one to back, then I'll send this one to back too. You can do backwards. So this is the order that they are going to be in. Okay, so when they're all stacked together, I'll stack them real quick so you can see. Where's that? Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when they're all stacked together. Okay, now one thing that we do need is one of these layers at the very least, I only like to do it with one, needs a way to hang. Okay, so that you can put like a little, you know, ribbon or whatever. So down here under Flexi Shapes, you have this thing that looks like a donut. So that's actually the one that I'm going to use, and what it comes in with already the offset on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use it in the spacer shape. So I will put that right there, and then I need to weld this piece to the main frame. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little bit. You want to make sure that it's not over like this, because you're going to get a hang down here. And you also want to make sure that this inner circle is not in here. I like to make it so that it's like this. Okay. Once you've got that, you can select both. In order to select a design that is not filled, you have to click right on the line. And then I can click on the rest of the frame, right click and click weld. Okay, now this is not going to come into xTool's creative space with these fill colors, but this does allow me to visualize what I'm doing here. Okay, so let's make some of the little charms. So since this is a Christmas ornament, the Flexi Shapes actually has some really cool options. So I'm gonna use a star for one. I'll make a star. You can adjust, how the points are. Okay, and then what you can do is, again, use that offset tool to create an offset. So what I like to do on this is, I like the outside edge to be cut and the inside edge to be, like the inner star to be a score. Okay, so that's why I do the offset. You don't have to do that, but it's easier to make that change here in Silhouette Studio than it is in Creative Space. So I put them inside my shape so that then I can size them. So again, if you wanna better visualize this, take the outside shape, fill it with whatever color you're gonna do, take the inside shape, which in this case is this red line, if I can select just that, and I am going to change the line color to like brown, okay? So it'll look similar to this when it's cut, okay? And then cut and scored. And then you can make a couple different ones. You can duplicate these here in Silhouette Studio, or you can do this part over in Creative Space. Now, I'm gonna add another one. So again, Flexi Space has a couple of different Christmas trees. So I'm gonna make a Christmas tree. These are cool because you can actually adjust, how many branches there are, whatever you want, which is great. So I've got my Christmas tree here. Again, I'm gonna change this to brown just for my visual. And then I'm gonna do offset on that one. I'm gonna make the offset distance a little bit bigger there, okay? And again, I will select that so that I can see, okay, that looks pretty good. And I'll pull that in here, and now we'll use that as one of the charms, okay? And then I'm gonna do a heart, same thing. So I've got some hearts. These I'm gonna cut on acrylic. So maybe I just want to cut, a bunch of them, but I'll cut them on acrylic, all right? So I'll get this out of the way for a second. And this one I'm just gonna fill with red because I'm gonna do red. Okay, now, if you wanna personalize this at all, let's say you wanna add gingerbread men, or you wanna add if I made one for my kids, and I put my daughter's a cheerleader and my son is a basketball player. So what I did was I went onto So Fancy, and I found some shapes for a megaphone, and I found a ball, and I pulled them in and I used those. But I did find some gingerbread men here. These are also on So Fancy, so I will share these as well. So what I did here, I'm just gonna show you with one of them, and then you can take it from there. So let's say we wanna use this little gingerbread man. If you cut this gingerbread man with your laser, you're going to end up with a lot of different pieces, because what you can see is the hat is not actually all connected. So you need to add an offset. So again, I'm gonna add this offset here, and I'm gonna increase it a little bit so that I get rid of some of these little spots here. Okay, so this offset is going to be the cut line, all right? I don't want this whole thing to engrave. I probably just want, in this case, I'm gonna have like the eyes engrave, and I'll have the rest of this kind of score. So what I like to do is go over here, and I'm going to release the compound path. So if you don't have the option to ungroup, release compound path is probably what you want. Now I have my whole thing here, but I can't really see it because it has the same line color. So I'm going to quickly just change the line color to something that I can see, okay? These are extra, these little bits here. When I added the offset, they added there. So I'm gonna release the compound path in this case and just delete these, okay? Now, what I'm going to do here is everything that I want to engrave, I'm going to select and group together, okay? Then the rest of the stuff, I'll just have score. So all of this, I'm going to have engrave. So if I pull, whoops, I missed something. I missed this little button. Okay, so I'm gonna right click group. And again, because I like to visualize what's happening, I'm going to go to the fill pattern, and I'm gonna fill it, all right? And then this whole part, the gingerbread man, the main hat, I'm going to score that. So I'm actually going to tell it that I don't want a fill. All right, we just have a line color for this, brown. Okay, and I'm going to group that separately. So now what I have is this. Okay, so 3 pieces. So this is going to be cut. This is going to be the score line, so it kind of outlines the main shape for me. And then this whole part is going to be engraved. Okay, so again, I'm going to size this down so that he fits in here. Now let's go one step further. I'm going to resize it so you can see. Let's say you want to customize this and add a name, okay, to this. Did I scooch it? Okay, I'm going to add a name. I'm going to add the name Blake. All right, now you can decide later or now if you want to cut, score, or engrave. I'm going to tell it that I'm going to just put his name on the hat since that seems like an obvious place. And I'm actually going to tell it that I'm going to decide that I want that piece to engrave too. So I'm going to group that with the rest of the engraving. Okay. Now, if you wanted to change I shouldn't have grouped that yet. If you wanted to change, ungroup, please, the font, you can open up the text style tool over here on the right-hand side and change it to whatever you want. Okay. Any font that is downloaded and installed on your computer will show up in Silhouette Studio the next time you open. Okay, so we'll leave it like that. Okay, so now I'm going to group it. Okay. Group. All right, now I'll size it too. Okie doke. So you can, now that you've seen all of that, you can do whatever shapes you want. All right, I've given you the basics here. Okay, one last thing. Let's say you want to put like a little placard here. A really cool way to do this in Silhouette Studio is to use a basic shape. So I'm going to use a square shape, and I'm just going to draw out a square. Okay, now you have a couple of options. If you double click on here, you'll have the ability to add edit points. So on a square, there's 4 edit points, or a rectangle. If you want to add another one, let's say you put it right here in the middle, you just click on the line. So in order to get that edit point, I have to double click, okay? Not single click, double click it. Then you can add a point. So I can add a point here and pull this in, and now I've made it like a flag. All right, I'm gonna undo that by clicking the keyboard shortcut for undo. Let's say I wanna make this a little squiggly. This is kind of an advanced option, but I'm just going to show you so you have it. I'm going to put a edit point in the middle, and then I'm going to tell it that I want to make a curve, and it gives me these other little lines here, or little control bars that I can make a curve. So if I do another one on the bottom and make a curve, I can make some kind of a little flag here. And now I'm going to show you here. I'll fill that with the same color. So you can see, and there are endless possibilities. You can find flags, banners, different things like that, little emphasis things. Again, on Sofancy, those SVGs will easily open up in Silhouette Studio with Designer Edition. But again, you're going to need the full business edition to do this whole thing. Okay, so we've got everything here. So now what I'm going to do is I am actually going to sort this so that my pieces that are going to cut together, I'm going to export them all together. So I've got this is another reason why I like to fill my things with color. Okay, these are now ready to go into, I'm going to get ready to export so that I can pull them into Creative Space. So I'm going to, in this case, select both the acrylic pieces, and I'm going to go to File, Save Selection, Save to Hard Drive. So these, I'm going to name this acrylic pieces for shaker ornament. Okay, and I'm going to change the format to SVG. Okay, then I'm going to select all the pieces that are going to cut on the light color wood, and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to do that for all the different groups. Save selection, save to hard drive. If you click save as, it's going to save everything. Okay, all of those are now exported. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna launch Creative Space so that you can see how I can open this. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go to Settings. Oh, no, sorry, not Settings. File, Import Image, and now I'm gonna open up those images that I just saved. So let's start with the acrylic pieces. So that opens here. If it asks you if you wanna resize, no, you do not. Okay, and then down here what you can do is you can rename this. So I'm gonna name this acrylic pieces. Then I'm gonna click plus, and I'm gonna do again, File, Import Image, and I'm gonna do the next piece, charms. So these are going to be renamed charms, and I'm gonna do that for all of them. Okay, so now you've got all of your stuff in here. Now, one other thing I want to suggest to you just before we do this. Once you've got it all in here, I'm going to zoom it in real quick. And now you can set, because these are separated, you can, I need to zoom it so you can see. You're going to set this outside line as cut and this inside line as engrave. Or not engrave, score. Okay? So remember how we separated all this stuff? This is why. Okay, so let's just pull. Again, you're gonna have to zoom really close in because these are so small. But this red line, the outside line, that's the one you want to cut. This hat and the base of the gingerbread man, that's the one we want to score. And then these little guys, all the little detail pieces along with the name, I'm still holding down Shift while I select them all. Even if you group them in Silhouette Studio, they don't remain grouped here. Those we want to engrave along with the name. I'm gonna actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select it and then deselect. Sometimes it's just easier. Okay, and then we'll put this back together. Now, once you do all this hard work, because the design part is the hardest part, you can go up here and do File, Save. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna save your whole project. You can also do File, Save As, and it will ask you what snow globe ornament full set, and it will save. And so that the next time it's gonna open with all of, not only your selections of like, you know, I set this to cut and this to engrave, and I set this, you know, material on this set, which I didn't do that part yet, but it'll save all these individual tabs as well, okay? So that is why I like to do everything in Silhouette Studio, because you've got a lot more control, but then I can bring it into Creative Space and save my whole set this way, so that every time I need to open it, I'm able to do that. Okay, now you're ready to laser cut. So I did move some of my pieces around so that I wasn't wasting excess material, because the middle piece of that is going to be popped out anyway. So I just used it to create some extra charms. And then this was actually, this version was cut on hardboard that I had actually just taped so that I didn't get charring around the edges there. And now you can see you've got all of your pieces. Like I said, I do like to use that middle piece, because otherwise it ends up just being wasted. So you end up with your 4 layers plus your little charms, and they come together beautifully. So obviously this one was done with 2 layers of wood and then 2 layers of acrylic, but I also did that other version that had sublimation as well. All the links for everything that you see are in the description below. If you are looking for more Silhouette Studio videos, I've got lots of those. If you're looking for more laser videos, I also have lots of those. So make sure you hit subscribe and check out all the links in the comments below.